Share the secret with a friend and let us know your favourite moments in the comments. Settle in. The journey starts now.
They thought they were moving for a fresh start. They didn't know they were stepping into a temptation waiting just above them. Rooftop Temptation is a story about long-term love, quiet dissatisfaction, and what happens when comfort turns into curiosity. Rooftop Temptation, a steamy story after dark. Chapter 1. The Key. Some secrets are meant to be found. The key was taped under the welcome mat, small brass with a red tag that simply read, Roof. Mara held it up to the afternoon light streaming through their new apartment windows, turning it slowly between her fingers. 30 floors below, the city hummed with 1,000 stories. Now they were adding theirs to the mix. "Think we should?" she asked. Daniel looked up from the maze of unpacked boxes, that smile playing at his lips. The one that always meant trouble. The one she'd fallen for 7 years ago in a college library when he'd leaned over and whispered that her highlighter was distracting him. "I think," he said, crossing to her and taking the key from her hand, "we moved here for a reason." The reason was supposed to be a fresh start. New city, new jobs, new apartment, new chapter after years of the same routines, the same restaurants, the same conversations, the same everything. They'd been good, solid, and stable, but somewhere along the way, stable had become stagnant. Good had become predictable, and 7 years of knowing someone inside and out had started to feel less like intimacy and more like comfort, the dangerous kind that makes you wonder if this is all there is. Mara had been the one to suggest the move. Daniel had agreed so quickly it almost hurt, like he'd been waiting for her to say it first, waiting for permission to want more. "Tonight?" she asked, looking at the key in his palm. "Tonight," he confirmed. What they didn't know yet was that some chapters you can't write alone, and some buildings keep secrets that change everything. They spent the day unpacking, creating the illusion of settling in. Mara hung pictures while Daniel assembled furniture, and they fell into the comfortable rhythm of a couple who'd been together long enough to work in tandem without speaking. They were comfortable, and there was that word again. By evening, the apartment looked lived in. Wine was open. Chinese takeout containers littered the counter, and the key sat on the kitchen island between them like a dare. "You know," Daniel said, twirling lo mein on his fork, "it's probably just roof access. Maybe a garden or something." Mara raised an eyebrow. "You don't believe that?" "No," he admitted, "but I'm trying to manage expectations." "Since when do you manage expectations?" He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound filled their new kitchen, and Mara realized she hadn't heard it in weeks, maybe months. "Fair point," he said. "Want to see what mysteries our new building holds?" She was already standing, already reaching for the key. The elevator had a button marked R that neither of them had noticed before. Daniel pressed it. The car lurched upward past floor 30, past where their apartment sat, past where the numbers stopped making sense. The doors opened onto a narrow hallway that smelled faintly of chlorine and summer, even though it was December and rain had been threatening all day. At the end, a glass door. Beyond it, steam rising into the twilight like smoke signals. Mara's heart kicked up. "Is that a hot tub?" Daniel finished. "On the roof." They moved forward together, Daniel fitting the key into the lock. It turned smoothly like it had been waiting for them. The door swung open. The rooftop stretched before them, protected by glass walls on 3 sides and open to the darkening sky above. In the center, under a single red bulb that cast everything in a warm, forbidden glow, sat a hot tub that was already bubbling, already hot, already waiting. "Someone left it running," Mara whispered. Daniel stepped closer, testing the water with his hand. Perfect temperature. They looked at each other. The unspoken question hung between them. Had someone just been here? Was someone coming back? Should they even be doing this? But the key had been under their mat. The invitation had been clear. "I didn't pack a swimsuit," Mara said. Daniel's eyes travelled over her and she felt it. That spark she'd been missing. That awareness, that wanting. "Check your suitcase," he said. "Pretty sure I saw that navy bikini." Of course he had. 7 years meant he knew her packing habits. Knew she always threw in a swimsuit just in case. Knew her better than anyone. But did he still want to know more? Did she? 20 minutes later, Mara stood at the edge of the hot tub in that navy bikini, Daniel beside her in swim trunks she'd bought him for their vacation to Mexico 3 years ago. Neither had wanted to change in front of the other in the apartment. They'd taken separate rooms, separate moments, like they were strangers about to share something intimate, like they were starting over. Daniel climbed in first, sinking down with a groan of appreciation. "Oh, this is dangerous!" Mara followed, the heat enveloping her slowly. Calves, knees, thighs, each inch hotter than the last until she sank to her shoulders across from him. The jets pulsed against her back. The red light painted everything in shades of want. The city sprawled below them, oblivious. "How long do you think we can stay?" she asked. Daniel leaned his head back, eyes closing. "As long as we want. We have the key." For a long moment they just existed in the heat and the steam and the strange intimacy of being alone together somewhere new. Somewhere that felt stolen, somewhere that felt like theirs but also like it belonged to someone else. Mara watched her husband's face, relaxed in a way it hadn't been in months. Watched the steam curl around his shoulders. Watched the way the red light caught in his dark hair. She wanted him. The realization hit her suddenly, even though it shouldn't have been surprising. He was her husband. She should want him. But this was different. This wasn't scheduled intimacy on Saturday nights after date night. This wasn't familiar and safe and comfortable. This was new, and this was footsteps on wet tile. Mara's eyes snapped open. Daniel sat up. The glass door swung wide and a woman stepped through, blonde hair pulled up, designer robe wrapped around her, heels clicking until she stopped and slipped them off. Behind her, a man, tall, athletic build, easy confidence in every movement. The woman's eyes landed on them and she smiled, not surprised, not apologetic, but delighted. "Oh," she said, her voice warm as honey. "I was hoping we'd meet our new neighbours." Chapter 2. Claire and Ben. The blonde woman didn't wait for an invitation. She was already untying her robe, already revealing a white bikini that looked more expensive than Mara's monthly gym membership. "I'm Claire," she said, stepping into the hot tub with practiced grace. "This is Ben." The man, Ben, gave them an easy smile and followed his partner in, settling beside Daniel. "Welcome to the building." Mara felt Daniel tense beside her, that subtle shift in posture that meant he was recalculating the situation. They'd thought they were alone. They'd thought this was their secret. Apparently not. "I'm Mara," she managed. "This is Daniel. We just moved in today." "Apartment 3012? Claire asked, settling in beside Mara, close enough that their knees almost touched underwater. "Yes, how did you—" "We're in 2707, Ben explained. "We saw the moving truck. Always exciting when someone new moves in." There was something in the way he said exciting that made Mara's skin prickle, or maybe that was just the heat. Claire produced a bottle of champagne from somewhere. Had she been holding it this whole time? And Ben pulled out plastic cups. Within moments they were all holding fizzing drinks, the awkwardness dissolving into something that felt almost normal. Almost. "So," Claire said, raising her cup, "to new neighbours and new adventures." They drank. The champagne was expensive. Everything about Claire and Ben screamed expensive. The kind of couple who belonged in penthouses, not mid-level apartments. The kind who threw parties on yachts and vacations in Bali. What were they doing in a building like this? "How long have you two been here?" Daniel asked, clearly thinking the same thing. 3 months, Ben said. "We were in the penthouse across town before this." "Downsizing?" Mara asked. Claire laughed. Simplifying, sometimes less square footage means more freedom. That word hung in the steam between them. Freedom. "Plus," Ben added, eyes flickering to the hot tub, "the amenities here are incomparable." Mara caught the edge in his tone, the implication that the amenities had nothing to do with the gym or the parking garage. "You come up here often?" Daniel asked. "Every night," Claire said simply. "It's become our ritual, our escape." "From what?" Mara asked before she could stop herself. Claire's eyes met hers, and for the first time, Mara saw something real beneath the polish. Something knowing. "From being who everyone expects us to be," Claire said quietly. The confession settled over them like the steam. Ben shifted, and Mara felt the water move, felt the proximity of 4 bodies in a small space, felt the strange intimacy of strangers sharing heat and darkness and champagne. "What do you two do?" Ben asked, breaking the moment. "I'm in marketing," Mara said. "Daniel's a software engineer." "Ah," Claire said, "corporate life. We remember that." "You're not anymore?" Daniel asked. "We invest now," Ben said. "Real estate mostly. Gives us more flexibility, more time for the things that matter." "Like rooftop hot tubs," Mara said, attempting lightness. "Exactly," Claire said, her smile widening. "Like connection, experience, living instead of just existing." Mara felt those words land somewhere deep. Living instead of just existing. Wasn't that why they'd moved? Wasn't that what they'd been missing? The champagne kept flowing. The conversation meandered from superficial topics. Favorite restaurants, the best coffee shop nearby, the traffic in this city, to deeper ones. Claire asked about their relationship with an intimacy that should have felt invasive, but somehow didn't. 7 years, Mara said, married for 4. "Happy?" Claire asked. The question was so direct it caught Mara off guard. She looked at Daniel, found him already looking at her. "Yes," she said, then more honestly, "mostly." Claire nodded like that answer made perfect sense. Mostly is good, mostly is honest. Anyone who says completely happy all the time is lying. "How long have you two been together?" Daniel asked. Ben and Claire exchanged a look. Some private communication passed between them. 5 years, Ben said, "but we're not married." "Don't believe in it?" Mara asked. "Don't believe in limiting ourselves," Claire corrected gently. "Marriage is beautiful for some people. For us, we prefer flexibility." Mara wanted to ask what that meant, wanted to understand how you could be together without the structure, without the commitment, without the safety net of vows. But before she could, Claire stood, water streaming down her body in the red light. "We should let you two enjoy your first night," she said. But you should know we're up here every night around 8. You're welcome to join us anytime. Ben rose too, and they were both stepping out, grabbing robes, slipping back into their shoes. At the door, Claire turned back. Oh, and Mara, Daniel, that key you have? There are only 4 in the whole building. The owner left them for the people he thought would appreciate this place most. How do you know we have one? Daniel asked. Claire's smile was mysterious. Because we have one too, and we've been waiting to meet the other couple who did. Then they were gone, the glass door swinging shut behind them, leaving Mara and Daniel alone in the steam and the silence. Daniel looked at her. That was weird, Mara offered. I was going to say interesting. Mara laughed, the tension breaking. They're definitely interesting. But as they climbed out 20 minutes later, as they dried off and headed back to their apartment, Mara couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Claire's words echoed, "Don't believe in limiting ourselves." What did that mean, and why did it make Mara's pulse quicken? Chapter 3. Patterns. The next week fell into a pattern. Unpack, work, order dinner, watch TV, sleep. The comfortable routine of a couple who'd been together long enough that everything felt automatic. But every night at 8, Mara would glance at the clock and wonder if Claire and Ben were on the roof, wonder if they should go up. Daniel never mentioned it, and neither did she until Thursday. Mara was washing dishes when Daniel came up behind her, arms sliding around her waist. "Want to go for a swim tonight?" She knew what he meant, knew it wasn't about the building's pool. "You think they'll be there?" she asked. "Claire said every night." Mara turned in his arms. "Do you want them to be?" Daniel considered this. I think they're interesting, different from our usual friends." Their usual friends? The couples they had dinner with who talked about mortgages and promoted and whether to have kids? Nice people, boring people, safe people. "Okay," Mara said, "let's go." They were there. Claire and Ben were already in the hot tub when Mara and Daniel emerged onto the roof at 8:15. Champagne bottle already open, the red light already glowing. "You came," Claire said, sounding genuinely pleased. "We almost didn't," Mara admitted, climbing in. "What changed your mind?" Ben asked. Daniel settled in beside Mara. "Curiosity." "About the hot tub?" Claire asked, eyes dancing. "Or about us?" "Both," Daniel said honestly. Claire laughed, that throaty sound that seemed to fill the space. "Good, we were curious about you too." The champagne was passed around. The conversation flowed easier this time, the initial awkwardness replaced with the familiarity of second meetings. But Mara noticed things this time. Noticed the way Claire's hand would rest on Ben's thigh underwater, casual and possessive. Noticed the way Ben's eyes would track movement, her movement, Claire's movement. With an artist's appreciation, noticed the way they touched each other constantly. Small touches, familiar ones, but also public ones, unashamed ones. Mara and Daniel rarely touched in public anymore, not like that, not with that ease. "How was your week?" Claire asked, directing the question to both of them but looking at Mara. "Long," Mara said. "New job, still learning everyone's names." "Marketing, right?" Ben said. "What kind?" Digital. Social media campaigns mostly." "Creative work," Claire said approvingly. "Do you enjoy it?" Did she? Mara realized she hadn't thought about whether she enjoyed it in years. It was just what she did, what paid the bills, what filled the hours. "It's fine," she said. Claire's expression shifted just slightly, like she'd heard the truth beneath the words. "Fine is the most dangerous word," Claire said. Fine means you've stopped expecting better. The observation hit harder than it should have. Daniel jumped in. What about you two? Ben mentioned real estate investing. Ben nodded, launching into an explanation of their portfolio, their strategy, their recent successes. It should have been boring, should have been the kind of work talk that made eyes glaze over. But the way he told it, the passion, the excitement, the sense of building something made it sound like an adventure. We're actually looking at a property upstate, Claire added. Old estate, needs work, but the potential is incredible. Sounds expensive, Daniel said. It is, Ben agreed. But some investments aren't about money. They're about experience, about creating something beautiful. Like this, Claire said, gesturing to the hot tub, the roof, the view. Someone invested in creating this space, and now we get to enjoy it. The four of us, Ben added, his eyes on Daniel. There was something in that look, something that made Mara's breath catch. The four of us, not two couples sharing a hot tub, but four people together. She was reading too much into it, had to be. But then Claire's foot brushed hers underwater, just once, just enough, and didn't pull away. Mara froze. Should she move? Should she say something? Claire was still talking, still smiling, still acting like nothing had happened. Maybe nothing had, maybe it was an accident. Except Claire's foot stayed there, a point of contact, deliberate. Mara glanced at Daniel. He was deep in conversation with Ben about coding languages, completely oblivious. She looked at Claire. Claire looked back and smiled, not apologetic, not uncertain, but knowing. Mara's heart hammered. She should pull away, should create distance, should... Claire's foot moved just slightly, a small pressure against Mara's calf. A question. Mara's entire body felt electric. This was crazy. She didn't pull away, and from the way Claire's smile deepened, that was answer enough. They stayed another hour. The conversation never faltered. The champagne kept flowing. And the whole time, that small point of contact remained. Claire's foot against Mara's leg. A secret in plain sight. When they finally said goodnight, when Claire and Ben disappeared through the glass door, Daniel turned to Mara. They're interesting people, he said. Very, Mara agreed, her voice steadier than she felt. Think we should make this a regular thing? Mara thought about Claire's foot, Claire's smile, Claire's knowing eyes. Yeah, she said, I think we should. Just see. Chapter 4, Questions. Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. 3 nights in a row they met on the roof. 3 nights of champagne and conversation and the slow dissolution of boundaries. By Sunday, Mara and Claire were sitting side by side, Ben and Daniel across from them. The configuration had shifted without anyone discussing it. The topics got deeper. Claire asked about their relationship, how they met, what they loved about each other, what they'd compromise on. Daniel hates surprises, Mara said, laughing. I learned that the hard way, when I planned a surprise party for his 30th. It's not that I hate them, Daniel protested. I just like to be prepared. Control freak, Mara teased, says the woman who color codes her closet. They were laughing, but Ben was watching them with that intense focus he had. You balance each other, he observed. Fire and structure. Is that what you and Claire are? Daniel asked. Balanced? Claire tilted her head, considering. We're more like complementary chaos. We both bring fire. We just aim it in different directions. Doesn't that burn everything down? Mara asked. Sometimes, Claire admitted, but we always rebuild. Better than before. There was a story there. Mara could feel it. Have you ever? Daniel started, then stopped. Ever what? Ben prompted. Daniel looked at Mara, some silent question passing between them. Have you ever broken up? He finished. Taken a break? Claire's hand found Ben's underwater. Once, she said, early on, we thought we wanted different things. What changed? Mara asked. We realized, Ben said slowly, that what we actually wanted was the freedom to grow, together and separately, without rules that didn't serve us. What does that mean? Daniel asked. Claire leaned forward, elbows on the edge of the tub. It means we don't believe in restricting each other. We believe in honesty, communication, choosing each other every day instead of being bound by a contract. But what about, Mara gestured vaguely, commitment, security? We're committed, Ben said, deeply. We just define it differently. How? Daniel pressed. Claire smiled. We don't own each other. We share ourselves. With each other, yes, but also with experiences, with possibility, with whatever makes us feel alive. The implication hung heavy in the steam. Mara felt her cheeks flush, and not from the heat. That sounds complicated, she said. It's actually simpler, Claire said. No jealousy over things that don't threaten us. No resentment over unmet needs. Just honesty about what we want and permission to pursue it. Together, Ben added. That's the key. We do everything together. Daniel was quiet, processing. Mara knew that look. He was intrigued, maybe even convinced. Don't you worry about losing each other? Mara asked. Claire's eyes softened. Every day, but I'd rather risk loss than guarantee stagnation. I'd rather feel everything, even fear, than feel nothing at all. Mara understood that. God, did she understand that? The comfortable numbness of their life before the move, the safety that had started to feel like a cage. What about you two? Ben asked. What do you want? It was the question they'd been avoiding for months, maybe years. Daniel answered first. I want... He paused, searching for words. I want to feel the way I did when we first met, when everything was new and exciting and I couldn't wait to discover more about Mara. Mara's heart squeezed. You don't feel that anymore? I do, he said quickly. But it's different. It's comfortable, safe. And you want more than safe, Claire said. Not a question. Yes, Daniel admitted. All eyes turned to Mara. I want to want things, she said finally. I want to stop being afraid of wanting more than I'm supposed to have. What are you afraid you want? Claire asked gently. Mara looked at her, at this beautiful, confident woman who seemed to live without fear, who touched her partner openly, who spoke about desire without shame, who had just spent 3 days playing footsie underwater with a married woman and clearly felt no guilt about it. I don't know yet, Mara whispered, but that was a lie. She knew, she just wasn't ready to say it out loud. Chapter 5. The Invitation. Monday, Mara found a note slipped under her apartment door. Heavy cardstock, expensive, the kind of invitation that came to gallery openings and charity galas. But this one just said, dinner, Tuesday, 7 p.m., our place, 2707, come hungry. C&B. Mara showed Daniel over breakfast. Should we go? She asked. Daniel studied the invitation. Do you want to? I asked you first. He smiled. Mara, do you want to have dinner with them? She thought about the question beneath the question, about Claire's eyes and Ben's intensity and the way the four of them had started to orbit each other like planets, finding a new gravitational pull. Yes, she said, I do. Then we'll go. Tuesday at 7, they stood outside apartment 2707. Mara had changed clothes 3 times, finally settling on a black dress that hit just above the knee. Simple, elegant, not trying too hard. Except she was trying. They both were. Daniel had worn his good shirt, the navy one that made his eyes stand out. He'd shaved, put on cologne. They looked like they were going on a date. Maybe they were. Daniel knocked. The door swung open and Claire stood there, barefoot in a silk slip dress the colour of champagne. Her hair was down, loose waves over her shoulders. "You came," she said, stepping aside. "We came," Mara confirmed, stepping into an apartment that was 3 times the size of theirs despite being on a lower floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture. Art that probably cost more than their car. A kitchen that opened into the living space where Ben stood at the stove, cooking. He looked up, smiled. "Perfect timing, I'm just finishing up." "Can we help?" Daniel offered. "You can pour wine," Ben said, gesturing to the island where glasses waited. "Red or white?" "What goes with what you're making?" Mara asked. Ben's eyes sparkled. "Depends. How adventurous are you feeling?" There it was again. Everything with them had layers, double meanings. "Adventurous," Claire said, answering for them. "They moved here for adventure, didn't they?" "Red, then," Ben decided. Dinner was incredible. Some kind of braised short ribs that fell apart at the touch of a fork. Roasted vegetables that tasted like they'd been blessed by a deity. Fresh bread, soft cheese, fruit that looked too perfect to eat. And wine. So much wine. They ate at the dining table, positioned in front of those massive windows, the city spreading out below them like a promise. The conversation flowed as easily as it had on the roof, but with new intimacy. They were in Claire and Ben's space now, their sanctuary. "How long have you been in this apartment?" Mara asked. "Since we moved to the city," Claire said. "Ben actually bought it before we were even together." "Investment property?" Daniel asked. "Something like that," Ben said. "I bought it thinking I'd flip it. But then I met Claire and, well, some investments you keep." Claire's hand found his across the table, the gesture so natural, so easy. Mara felt Daniel's hand find her knee under the table, mirroring them. "How did you meet?" Mara asked. Claire smiled at the memory. "Art gallery. I was there for a client. Ben was there because he'd just bought a piece." "She hated me," Ben added. "I didn't hate you. I thought you were pretentious." "I was pretentious." They laughed, comfortable with the honesty. "What changed?" Daniel asked. "He kept showing up," Claire said, "every gallery opening, every event. And one night he finally asked me to dinner. I figured if she kept tolerating me, there might be something there," Ben said. "And was there?" Mara asked. Claire's eyes met Ben's. Something electric passed between them. "More than I expected," Claire said softly. The intimacy of the moment settled over the table. Mara felt it, that pull, that wanting to be part of something that felt so alive, so real, so unafraid. After dinner they moved to the living room. More wine, music, playing softly. The 4 of them arranged on furniture that probably cost more than Mara's student loans. Claire kicked off her heels, had she put them on sometime during dinner, and tucked her feet under her on the couch beside Mara. Ben and Daniel sat across from them, deep in conversation about something technical that Mara stopped following after 30 seconds. "Can I ask you something?" Claire said quietly. Mara turned to her. "Of course." "Why did you really move here?" "I told you, fresh start." "But from what?" Claire pressed. "You two seem happy, stable. What were you running from?" Mara took a long sip of wine, considered lying, considered deflecting, chose honesty instead. Boredom, she said. We were bored of each other, of ourselves, of the life we'd built that felt more like a script than a choice. Claire nodded. Did moving help? I don't know yet. It's only been a week. But you met us, Claire said, eyes searching Mara's face. Do you think that was an accident? Was it? Claire smiled. I don't believe in accidents. I believe in timing, in chemistry, in people finding each other when they're ready for what comes next. What comes next? Mara asked, heart racing. Claire's hand settled on Mara's arm, warm, steady, intentional. That, she said softly, is entirely up to you. Chapter 6. Choices. They stayed until after midnight, talking, laughing, drinking wine that probably cost more than their monthly grocery budget. And the whole time, Mara felt it, that pull, that magnetic force drawing her toward Claire, toward Ben, toward this couple who seemed to live without the boundaries that had defined Mara's entire adult life. Claire's hand stayed on her arm, then her knee, small touches, casual ones, except nothing felt casual. Across from them, Ben had shifted closer to Daniel. Their conversation had gotten quieter, more intense. Mara caught fragments. Never really thought about it that way. Just because you haven't tried something might surprise yourself. When they finally said goodnight, when Claire walked them to the door, she pulled Mara into a hug that lasted just a beat too long. I'm glad you moved here, she whispered into Mara's ear. Then she pulled back, smiled at both of them. Same time tomorrow? On the roof? We'll be there, Daniel said, and they were. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 3 more nights on the roof. 3 more nights of champagne and conversation and the slow, inevitable dissolution of pretense. By Friday, the touching was constant. Claire's leg against Mara's, Ben's shoulder brushing Daniel's, a hand on a knee here, fingers trailing across the back there. Nothing explicitly sexual, everything absolutely charged. And the conversations. Have you ever thought about what you'd do differently? Ben asked Daniel on Thursday. If you could go back, start over. I wouldn't change meeting Mara, Daniel said immediately. But, Claire prompted, because they could all hear the unspoken word. But I might have been braver, Daniel admitted, about wanting things, asking for things, trying things. It's not too late, Ben said. Friday night, Claire asked Mara the same question. What would you change? Mara thought about it. About 7 years of playing it safe, of being the good girlfriend, the good wife, the good employee, of checking all the boxes and wondering why they felt empty. I'd stop waiting for permission, she said finally. To want things, to try things, to be more than what I thought I was supposed to be. Claire's eyes lit up. Who said you need permission now? The question hung there. Who said she needed permission? Society? Her parents? Daniel? Herself? What if, Claire said slowly, you just took what you wanted? What if you stopped asking if you're allowed and just did? That sounds chaotic, Mara said. Does it? Ben asked. Or does it sound free? Mara didn't have an answer, but she thought about it all weekend. Thought about it while she and Daniel made love on Saturday night. Familiar, comfortable, perfectly fine. Thought about it on Sunday when they went grocery shopping and she saw a couple arguing in the produce section, the woman's voice sharp with years of resentment. Thought about it Sunday night when Daniel asked, Do you think we should invite them to dinner? Claire and Ben? At our place? Mara asked. Yeah, seems fair. They had us over. Fair. Everything in their relationship was fair, equal, balanced, and safe. Okay, Mara said, let's do it. Chapter 7, Crossing Lines. They invited Claire and Ben for dinner on Wednesday. Mara spent all day Tuesday cleaning. Not that their apartment was dirty, but she needed it perfect, needed it to measure up to the elegance of Claire and Ben's space. Daniel came home early on Wednesday to help cook. They'd planned a menu: roasted chicken, garlic potatoes, a salad with pears and gorgonzola. Nothing as fancy as what Ben had made, but good, solid and safe, and there was that word again. Claire and Ben arrived at 7 sharp. Claire in jeans and a silk top that probably cost more than Mara's entire outfit. Ben in slacks and a button-down with the sleeves rolled up. They brought wine, 3 bottles. We weren't sure what you were making, Claire said, so we brought options. Dinner was good, the conversation easy, and Mara felt herself relax into it, into the comfort of 4 people who were becoming friends, real friends, or something more. After dinner they moved to the living room, opened a 2nd bottle of wine, put music on low. The apartment felt smaller with 4 people in it, cozier, more intimate. Claire kicked off her shoes and curled up on the couch beside Mara. Ben and Daniel took the chairs. This is nice, Claire said, looking around. Homey. It's not as fancy as your place, Mara said. Fancy doesn't mean better, Ben said. Sometimes simple is more honest. Is that what we are? Daniel asked. Simple and honest? I think, Claire said carefully, you're on the verge of becoming very honest. The air shifted. Mara felt it. That electricity, that sense of standing at an edge. Can I ask you something? Daniel said, looking at Ben. And I want you to be honest. Always, Ben said. Why did you invite us to dinner? Why do you keep inviting us up to the roof? Ben smiled. Why do you think? I think, Daniel said slowly, you saw something in us. Something you recognized. Which was? Claire prompted. 2 people ready for more, Daniel said. The words settled into the room like a dare. Are you? Claire asked, eyes on Mara. Ready for more? Mara's heart hammered. This was it, the moment, the question. I don't know what more means, she said honestly. Claire set down her wine glass, shifted closer to Mara on the couch. More means, she said softly. Whatever you want it to mean, it could mean new experiences, new perspectives, new ways of connecting. With you, Mara whispered. With us, with Daniel, with yourself. Mara looked at her husband. Daniel was watching her, and in his eyes she saw permission, curiosity, want. Daniel? She asked. He stood, crossed to the couch, sat on Mara's other side. Now she was between them, her husband and this beautiful, terrifying woman who seemed to see straight through her. I think, Daniel said, his voice steady, we should at least explore what more could mean if you want to. If she wanted to. Did she? Claire's hand found hers. No pressure, she said, no expectations, just possibility. What kind of possibility? Mara asked. Ben stood, moved to sit on the arm of the couch near Daniel. The 4 of them arranged in a loose circle. The kind where we all get what we need, Ben said, where no one sacrifices, where everyone wins. How? Mara asked. However we decide, Claire said. That's the beauty of making your own rules. You get to define what works. Daniel's hand found Mara's other hand. She sat between them, holding hands with her husband on one side and Claire on the other, Ben watching with those intense eyes. I'm scared, Mara admitted. Of what? Claire asked. Of wanting this, of what it means, of changing everything. You already changed everything, Ben said gently. You moved, you met us, you showed up tonight. The only question is whether you keep moving forward or go back to safe. Safe, there it was, the choice she'd been avoiding. Mara looked at Daniel. What do you want? I want you to be happy, he said. I want us to feel alive again, and I think... He glanced at Claire and Ben. I think they could help us remember how. Claire squeezed Mara's hand. No one's asking you to decide tonight. No one's asking you to do anything you're not ready for. We're just offering a door. You can walk through it or not. Either way, we're still friends. But Mara knew it wasn't that simple. Knew that some doors, once seen, couldn't be unseen. Some possibilities, once acknowledged, changed everything. What would it look like, she asked, if we walked through? Claire smiled. What do you want it to look like? And that was the question, wasn't it? What did she want? I want to feel something, Mara said. Something real. Something that isn't safe or comfortable or predictable. Then feel this, Claire said and leaned in. The kiss was soft, questioning. Claire's lips against Mara's, tasting like wine and possibility. Mara froze. This was happening. This was real. This was... Claire pulled back. Okay? Mara looked at Daniel. He was watching, face unreadable. Daniel, she whispered. He smiled. Actually, smiled. It's okay, Mara. I promise. And somehow that made it okay. Mara turned back to Claire. Again, she said. This time when Claire kissed her, Mara kissed back. Chapter 8. Boundaries. The kiss lasted seconds, maybe minutes. Mara lost track. When Claire finally pulled away, Mara's entire body was trembling. Okay? Claire asked again. Mara nodded, not trusting her voice. She looked at Daniel. He was still smiling, but there was something else in his eyes. Heat, interest, and want. Your turn, Claire said to Ben. Ben moved from the arm of the couch to kneel in front of Daniel. Yes? Daniel hesitated, then yes. And Ben kissed him. Mara watched her husband kiss another man and felt not jealousy, not anger, but arousal and liberation. When they broke apart, Daniel looked dazed. I've never, he started. I know, Ben said gently. How was it? Different, Daniel managed. Good different. Claire laughed, that warm sound that made everything feel okay. This is why we don't limit ourselves, because different can be so good. They sat there, the four of them, breathing hard, wine forgotten. Now what? Mara asked. Now, Ben said, standing, we talk about what everyone's comfortable with, what everyone wants, what the boundaries are. You have boundaries? Daniel asked, surprised. Of course, Claire said. Freedom without boundaries is just chaos. We have very clear rules. Like what? Mara asked. Claire ticked them off on her fingers. 1, everything happens together. We don't split off into separate rooms. We share experiences as a group. 2, Ben continued, everyone has veto power. Anyone uncomfortable, anyone wants to stop, we stop. No questions, no pressure. 3, Claire said, honesty. Always. If someone's feeling something, good or bad, we talk about it. And 4, Ben finished, this stays between us. Discretion is key. The rules made sense. Actually made Mara feel safer, not less. What about... Mara struggled for words. How far does this go? Claire smiled. As far as everyone wants. It could be just kissing. It could be more. It evolves based on comfort and desire. And you two, Daniel said, gesturing between Claire and Ben, you're okay with all of this? More than okay, Ben said. This is how we connect with people, how we experience life. We're not looking to replace each other. We're looking to enhance what we have. By sharing it, Claire added. Daniel looked at Mara. What do you think? Mara thought about comfort zones, about safety, about 7 years of the same patterns, about one kiss that had made her feel more alive than months of familiar touches. I think, she said slowly, I want to try, but slow with all those rules. Slow is good, Claire agreed. We have time, no rush. So what happens now? Daniel asked. Ben checked his watch. Now it's almost midnight and this is a big step. You two should probably talk. Process. Decide if you really want this or if it was just wine and curiosity. Sleep on it, Claire suggested. And tomorrow, if you still want to explore this, come to the roof. 8 p.m. We'll be there. They stood, all of them. Claire pulled Mara into a hug. Thank you, she whispered, for being brave. Ben shook Daniel's hand, then pulled him into a brief hug too. And then they were gone, leaving Mara and Daniel alone in their apartment, in the silence, with everything that had just happened hanging between them. They didn't talk that night, couldn't find the words. Instead, they made love, urgent, desperate, different than it had been in years, touching each other like they were discovering new territory, like the kiss with Claire and Ben had unlocked something. Afterward, lying in the dark, Daniel finally spoke. Did that really just happen? Yeah, Mara breathed. And you're okay with it? Mara rolled to face him. I think so. Are you? I think, Daniel paused, I think I've been dying a slow death of routine, and tonight I felt alive. Me too, Mara admitted. And so tomorrow? Tomorrow, Mara confirmed. They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in months, Mara didn't dream about escape. She was already living it. Chapter 9, The Roof, Night 1, 8 p.m. Thursday, Mara and Daniel stood outside the rooftop door, the same red key in Daniel's hand, the same glass door in front of them, but everything felt different. Last chance to back out, Daniel said. Do you want to? Mara asked. No, you? No. Daniel opened the door. Claire and Ben were already there in the water, champagne ready, but tonight felt different. Charged. Everyone knew why they were really here. You came, Claire said, smiling. We came, Mara confirmed, already pulling off her cover-up. This time when she climbed into the water, when she settled next to Claire, when their legs touched, it wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Daniel sat beside Ben, their shoulders touching. The champagne was poured, the steam rose, the red light glowed. Tell us what you talked about last night, Ben said, after we left. We didn't talk much, Daniel admitted. Claire laughed. Good, talking is overrated sometimes. But boundaries aren't, Ben added. So let's establish them now. Mara, Daniel, what are you comfortable with tonight? Mara took a breath. I want to see where it goes, but Daniel and I, we don't split up. We stay together. Always, Daniel confirmed. Good, Claire said. That's our rule too. What else? I don't know, Mara admitted. I've never done this before. Then we'll read the room, Ben said. Pay attention to reactions. Check in, and remember, anyone wants to stop, we stop. Okay, Daniel said. Claire moved first, shifting closer to Mara until their thighs pressed together fully. This okay? Mara nodded. Claire's hand found Mara's under the water. And this? Yes. Across from them, Ben's arm slid around Daniel's shoulders. Dan? Daniel tensed, then relaxed. Yeah, okay. For long minutes they just sat like that. 4 people touching in ways that were intimate but not sexual, testing boundaries, building comfort. Then Claire tilted her face up to Mara's. Can I kiss you again? Please, Mara whispered. This kiss was different than last night, deeper, more certain. Mara kissed back without hesitation, tasted champagne and want, felt Claire's hand come up to cup her face. When they broke apart, Mara glanced at Daniel. He was watching and he was kissing Ben. The sight should have felt wrong, should have triggered jealousy or fear. Instead, Mara felt connected, like they were experiencing something together, even while they were with other people. Come here, Claire said to Ben. Ben moved, shifting positions so he was beside Claire. That put Daniel next to Mara. Now the couples were mixed. Mara and Daniel in the middle, Claire and Ben on the outside. Touch each other, Claire suggested. Don't lose each other in this. Mara turned to Daniel, found his hand, kissed him while Claire's fingers traced patterns on her back underwater. Felt Ben's hand on Daniel's shoulder while they kissed. The 4 of them connected, a circuit of touch and want and trust. It was intimate, it was strange, it was terrifying, it was incredible. They stayed in the water for 2 hours. Kissing, touching, exploring, but always stopping before it went too far, always pulling back, always maintaining that edge between desire and action. When they finally climbed out, when they dried off and said goodnight, Mara felt drunk on more than champagne. In the elevator going down, Daniel pulled her close. Thank you, he said. For what? For being brave enough to want this, to try this. Mara kissed him. Thank you for letting me. That night they made love again, and it was the best it had been in years. Chapter 10, Escalation. Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. 3 more nights on the roof. 3 more nights of exploration. Each night they pushed a little further, kissed a little longer, touched a little more. By Sunday, Mara was straddling Claire's lap, Daniel's hands on her hips from behind, Ben's mouth on Daniel's neck. A tangle of limbs and want and breath, but still clothed, still stopping before the final line. We should talk, Claire said afterward, all of them wrapped in towels on the lounges beside the tub. About next steps. What do you mean? Mara asked. I mean, Claire said gently. We've been dancing around this for a week, testing the waters, but there's an elephant in the room. Which is? Daniel asked. Whether this stays just kissing and touching, Ben said, or if you want to go further. The question hung there. Mara looked at Daniel. He looked back. Do you? She asked him. Do you? He countered. Classic them. Both too careful to be the first to admit want. Claire laughed. Here's a novel idea. Both of you want it. Both of you are terrified to say it, so I'll say it for you. We want to take you to bed, all 4 of us, together. The bluntness of it should have been shocking. Instead, it was freeing. Yes, Mara said. Yes, Daniel echoed. When? Ben asked. Claire smiled. Not tonight. Tonight was about acknowledgement. Tomorrow is Monday. You 2 take the day to be absolutely sure, and then Tuesday night, if you're still certain, we'll be certain, Daniel said. Tuesday night, Ben confirmed, our place, 8 p.m. They parted ways at the elevator. Hugs all around, promises, anticipation. In their apartment, Mara and Daniel looked at each other. "Holy shit," Daniel said. "Yeah," Mara agreed. "Are we really doing this?" Mara thought about comfort, about safety, about 7 years of the same patterns, about 1 week of feeling more alive than she had in years. "Yeah," she said, "we really are." Chapter 11, The Bedroom. Content transition, fade to black approach. Tuesday night arrived. Mara changed clothes 4 times. Nothing felt right. Everything felt too deliberate. Finally, she chose simple, a black dress, the one she'd worn to their first dinner with Claire and Ben. Full circle. Daniel wore the navy shirt. They looked at each other in the mirror, 2 people about to cross a line they could never uncross. "Last chance," Daniel said. "Stop saying that," Mara said. "I'm not backing out. Neither am I." They kissed, long and deep, anchoring themselves in each other before they shared themselves with others. At 8 p.m., they knocked on apartment 2707. Claire answered in a silk robe, Ben behind her in casual clothes. Champagne was already open, music played softly, the lights were low. "Come in," Claire said. They did. The apartment felt different at night, more intimate. The windows reflected their images back at them, 4 people standing at the edge of something enormous. "We prepared the bedroom," Ben said, "but there's no rush. We can talk first, have a drink, make sure everyone's still comfortable." They had a drink. They talked about boundaries, about expectations, about fears. And then Claire stood, extended her hand to Mara. "Ready?" Mara took her hand, looked back at Daniel. He was already standing, Ben beside him. Together, all 4 of them walked into the bedroom. Mature content, fade to black. What happened next was private, sacred, theirs alone. But here's what mattered. They laughed, they trembled. They discovered that pleasure could be shared, multiplied, experienced in ways they'd never imagined. They learned that Daniel was gentle, but Ben was strong, that Claire was confident, but Mara was braver than she knew. They learned that jealousy didn't have to exist when everyone was chosen, when everyone was wanted, when everyone was seen. They learned that 4 bodies could move like one, that trust could be built in moments, that boundaries could be pushed without being broken. And they learned that on the other side of fear was freedom, real freedom, the kind that changes everything. Return to narrative. Hours later, tangled in expensive sheets, the 4 of them lay together in a heap of contentment. Mara's head on Daniel's chest, Claire's arm across them both, Ben's hand in Claire's hair, connected and complete. "How do you feel?" Claire asked softly. Mara thought about it, searched for guilt, for regret, for shame, and found none. "Alive," she said. "Good," Ben murmured. "That's the point." Daniel's fingers traced patterns on Mara's shoulder. Do we do this again?" "Do you want to?" Claire asked. "Yes," Mara and Daniel said together. Ben laughed. "Then we do it again, as often as everyone wants, for as long as it works." "What if it stops working?" Mara asked. "Then we talk about it," Claire said. "Communication is everything, but for now, let's not borrow tomorrow's problems." "For now," Ben agreed, "let's just be here, together." And they were. Chapter 12, The New Normal. Wednesday morning, Mara woke up in her own bed, Daniel beside her. For a moment she wondered if she'd dreamed it, if the whole night had been fantasy. Then she saw the text on her phone from Claire. "Coffee this afternoon? Just us girls?" It was real, all of it. Mara smiled. The next 6 weeks fell into a new rhythm. Work during the day, dinners together several nights a week, the rooftop hot tub. And yes, sometimes Claire and Ben's bedroom, but also movie nights where they just talked, cooking together, inside jokes, real friendship layered beneath and around the physical connection. Mara and Claire grew close, shopping together, working out together, talking about things Mara had never felt comfortable discussing with her married friends. Daniel and Ben developed their own bond, basketball games, coding projects, long conversations about philosophy and life, and the four of them together became something Mara couldn't quite define. Not quite a relationship, not quite just friendship, something new, something theirs. One Saturday, 6 weeks in, they were all on Claire and Ben's rooftop. They had private roof access, having brunch. "Can I ask you something?" Daniel said to Ben. "How do you keep from getting jealous? Seeing Claire with someone else?" Ben considered. "Because I know she's choosing to be with me, every day. Not because she has to, not because a piece of paper says so, but because she wants to. That's more powerful than any contract." "And," Claire added, "because I'm not trying to replace him. Mara doesn't threaten what Ben and I have. Neither do you, Daniel. You enhance it. You add to our lives. You don't subtract." "Plus," Ben said with a grin, "watching her happy makes me happy, even if I'm not the one making her happy in that exact moment." Mara leaned against Daniel. "Do you ever get jealous?" she asked him quietly. "Sometimes," he admitted. "Like when Ben makes you laugh in that surprised way, or when Claire looks at you like you hung the moon." "But," Mara prompted, because she could hear the unspoken word. "But then you come back to me, every time, and I remember we're doing this together. We're choosing this together. That makes it okay." "More than okay," Mara said, kissing him. Claire raised her mimosa. "To choices, and to the people brave enough to make them." They drank, and Mara felt for the first time in years like she was exactly where she was meant to be. Chapter 13, Complications. 8 weeks in, the first complication arrived. Daniel's parents wanted to visit. "Shit," Daniel said, showing Mara the email. "They want to come next weekend, see the new place." "Okay," Mara said, "we'll clean up, it'll be fine." "Mara, they'll want to meet our friends. You know how my mom is." Oh no. "We can't introduce them to Claire and Ben," Mara said. "Why not?" Daniel asked. "They're our friends. Our friends who we sleep with." "They don't need to know that part." But that was the problem. Claire and Ben weren't good at pretending. Their relationship was open, honest, unapologetic. Could they maintain a facade for a weekend? Mara texted Claire, "We have a situation." 30 minutes later, all four of them were in Claire and Ben's living room, problem solving. "My parents can't know," Daniel said. "They're conservative, traditional. This would break them." "So we pretend to be normal friends," Ben said. "That's fine." "Can you do that?" Mara asked skeptically. Claire laughed. "Honey, I've been pretending to be normal my whole life. Trust me, we can pull this off." And they did. Daniel's parents visited, loved the apartment, met their new friends Claire and Ben from downstairs. Dinner was perfectly normal. Conversation stayed surface level. No one mentioned the hot tub or Tuesday nights or anything that had happened in the last 8 weeks. When Daniel's parents left Sunday afternoon, his mother pulled Mara aside. "I'm so glad you've made such nice friends," she said. "Claire and Ben seem lovely, very refined." "They are," Mara agreed. "It's good having couple friends, keeps marriages strong." Mara smiled, didn't mention that her marriage had never been stronger, precisely because of what they were doing with those couple friends. After they left, the four of them collapsed in Claire and Ben's living room. "I need wine," Claire declared. "I need to never pretend again," Ben said. "You two were amazing," Daniel said. "Oscar-worthy." "We're good at wearing masks," Claire said. "Years of practice." "Why?" Mara asked. "Why do you have to pretend?" Claire's expression grew serious. "Because the world isn't kind to people who live differently. Because our families wouldn't understand. Because it's easier to let people believe what they want to believe than to fight for acceptance we'll never get." "That's sad," Mara said. "That's reality," Ben said. "But hey, with you two, we don't have to pretend. That's special." It was special. Mara felt it. This secret world they'd built where they could be completely themselves. "Can I ask?" Daniel said. "Do your families know about your arrangement?" Claire and Ben exchanged glances. "My parents are dead," Claire said simply. "Car accident 5 years ago, so no, they never knew." "Mine know I'm not married," Ben said. "They don't know why. They assume I just haven't found the right person. I don't correct them." "Don't you want them to know you found Claire?" Mara asked. "I did find Claire," Ben said. "I just also know my family wouldn't accept how we love, so I choose peace over honesty with them." "But not with us," Daniel said. "Never with you," Claire confirmed. The trust in that statement settled over them. Chapter 14. Growth. 3 months in, something shifted. Mara realized she'd stopped counting the days, stopped marking time by before Claire and Ben and after. This was just their life now. Work, home, friends, lovers, all blended into something that felt remarkably normal. She was having coffee with Claire on a Tuesday afternoon, their regular weekly date, when Claire asked, "Are you happy?" "Yes," Mara said without hesitation. "Are you?" "Very. You and Daniel have been good for us." "How so?" Claire stirred her latte thoughtfully. "You remind us what it's like to discover this life for the first time. The excitement, the fear, the joy. We'd gotten a bit complacent, I think. You two woke us back up." "We thought you were waking us up," Mara said. "That's the beautiful thing," Claire said. "We all wake each other up. That's how it's supposed to work." Mara thought about that, about how they'd all grown in 3 months, how she felt more confident, more certain of herself, how Daniel laughed more, stressed less, how Claire had started painting again, something she'd apparently given up years ago, how Ben had softened, become more open. They were better together than they'd been apart. "Can I ask you something personal?" Mara said. "Always." "Do you ever wish it was different? You and Ben? That you could just be a normal couple?" Claire smiled sadly. "Sometimes, when we can't hold hands in public, when we have to introduce each other as friends at professional events, when I can't tell my college roommate why I'm really so happy." "But?" Mara prompted. "But then I remember what normal feels like. The suffocation, the resentment, the slow death of passion under the weight of expectation. And I choose this every time, even though it's hard. Especially because it's hard. The things worth having usually are." Mara thought about her marriage, about how easy it had been before, how comfortable, how dead. "I think I understand," she said. Claire reached across the table, took her hand. "You more than understand. You're living it, you're choosing it, you're being brave." "I don't feel brave." "That's because brave people never do. They just keep moving forward despite the fear." That night, all 4 of them were on the rooftop. No hot tub this time, just lounges under the stars, wine, quiet conversation. "I've been thinking," Ben said, "we should take a trip. The 4 of us. Where? Daniel asked. Somewhere no one knows us, where we can just be ourselves without hiding. That sounds amazing, Mara said. Where were you thinking? There's this property I've been looking at upstate on a lake, private, secluded. We could rent it for a long weekend. When? Claire asked, clearly already on board. 2 weeks? Memorial Day weekend? Mara looked at Daniel. They both knew what this meant. A whole weekend, just the 4 of them, no pretending, no hiding, no rushing back to separate apartments. Yes, Daniel said. Absolutely yes, Mara agreed. Ben smiled. Then I'll book it. As they planned the trip, what to bring, what to cook, what to do, Mara felt a swell of happiness so strong it almost hurt. This was her life now. These people, this unconventional, complicated, beautiful arrangement, and she wouldn't change it for anything. Chapter 15, The Lake House. The property was perfect, a sprawling cabin on a private lake, surrounded by forest. The nearest neighbor was 2 miles away, the nearest town 5 miles, offering complete privacy and complete freedom. They arrived Friday evening, all 4 of them in Ben's SUV, trunk loaded with food and wine and everything they'd need for 3 days away from the world. As they unloaded, Mara paused to take it in, the lake reflecting the sunset, the trees whispering in the breeze, the sense of being utterly alone in the best possible way. It's perfect, she breathed. Claire wrapped an arm around her waist. Wait until you see the inside. The cabin was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake, a chef's kitchen, a massive stone fireplace, and upstairs a master bedroom with a bed big enough for 4 people. 1 bed? Daniel asked, eyebrow raised. 1 bed, Ben confirmed. That okay? Mara looked at the bed, at the 3 people she'd be sharing it with, at the implications. Yeah, she said, it's okay. They spent Friday evening cooking together, opening wine, dancing in the kitchen to music played too loud, being silly and free in a way they couldn't be back home. After dinner, they built a fire in the outdoor pit by the lake, sat around it wrapped in blankets, stars overhead. I needed this, Claire said softly, to just be, without performance. It's nice, Daniel agreed. Not being anyone but ourselves. Can I propose something? Ben said. Depends what it is, Mara said, smiling. What if, while we're here, we made a rule, complete honesty? If someone feels something, thinks something, wants something, they say it. No filters. That sounds dangerous, Claire said, but she was smiling. Maybe, Ben agreed, but it could also be freeing. I'm in, Daniel said, all eyes turned to Mara. Okay, she said, complete honesty, but that goes for all of us. Deal, Claire said. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, fire crackling, lake lapping at the shore. Then Mara took a breath. Time to be brave. Can I say something honest? She asked. Please, Ben said. I love you all 3 of you. Not romantic love exactly, but something real, something deep. And I've been scared to say it because I didn't know if it was allowed. The confession hung in the night air. Claire moved first, crossing to Mara, pulling her into a hug. It's allowed, and I love you too. Me too, Ben said. Daniel cupped Mara's face. I love them too. Is that okay? Yes, Mara whispered. It's more than okay. And there it was. The truth they'd all been dancing around for months. This wasn't just sex, wasn't just exploration. It was love. complicated, unconventional, impossible to explain love, but real love nonetheless. They stayed up late that night, talking, sharing secrets, being vulnerable in ways they never had before. Ben talked about his father's disappointment in his life choices, how he'd never be the corporate executive his dad wanted. Claire talked about losing her parents, about being untethered without them, about Ben being her anchor. Daniel talked about his fear of mediocrity, of becoming his father, successful but soul dead. Mara talked about her terror of being ordinary, of living a life that looked good on paper but felt empty inside. And they all talked about this, what they'd built together, what it meant, where it might go. Do you ever think about the future? Claire asked, like 5 years from now. Sometimes, Mara admitted. Do you? All the time. I wonder if we'll still be doing this, if it's sustainable long term. Do you think it is? Daniel asked. I don't know, Claire said honestly. I'd like it to be. But I also know life changes. People change. What if one of you wants kids? What if you need to move for a job? What if someone falls in love with someone outside our group? The questions were heavy. I think, Ben said slowly, we enjoy this while we have it, and if it ends someday, we'll have been grateful for what it was. That's sad, Mara said. Or realistic, Ben countered. Nothing lasts forever, but that doesn't make it less valuable. I don't want it to end, Daniel said quietly. Neither do I, Claire agreed. Then maybe it won't, Mara said. Maybe we're the exception. Maybe, Ben said, though his tone suggested he didn't believe it. But that night it didn't matter. They had now. They had this weekend. They had each other. That was enough. Chapter 16, Evolution. Mature themes handled with fade to black approach. Saturday morning, Mara woke up tangled with all three of them. Claire's arm across her waist, Daniel's leg over hers, Ben's hand in her hair. Morning light streamed through the windows, the lake glittered beyond. This, she thought, this is what happiness looks like. They made breakfast together, pancakes and coffee and laughter, then spent the day doing nothing in particular, swimming in the lake, reading on the dock. Ben teaching Daniel to fish while Mara and Claire sunbathed and talked. Do you think about the future? Mara asked Claire. Really think about it? Claire rolled onto her side to face Mara. All the time. I think about growing old with Ben. I think about what happens when this life gets harder to maintain. But you don't regret it? Never. Even if it ended tomorrow, I wouldn't trade it. Would you? Mara thought about her life before, the comfortable numbness, the routine. No, she said, I wouldn't trade it. That evening they cooked an elaborate meal, multiple courses, wine pairings, making a production of it because they could, because here they didn't have to rush. After dinner they danced in the living room, switched partners, Ben with Mara, slow and gentle, Daniel with Claire, laughing and spinning, then mixing again, Mara with Claire, Daniel with Ben, and all the combinations, all the connections. Later in the big bed upstairs, they made love, all four of them together, learning new configurations, discovering new pleasures, finding new ways to connect. And afterward, wrapped together in the dark, Mara felt complete. Sunday morning came too soon. They packed reluctantly, cleaned the cabin, prepared to return to real life, to separate apartments and work and pretending they were just friends. On the drive back, Claire said what they were all thinking. I don't want to go back. Me either, Mara agreed. We have to, Ben said, but we can come back. Make this an annual thing. Or more frequent, Daniel suggested. I'd like that, Claire said. They spent the drive planning other trips, other escapes, ways to steal moments of freedom in their constrained lives. When they pulled up to their building, when they had to unload and go to separate floors and become separate couples again, Mara felt the loss keenly. In the elevator, just her and Daniel, she leaned against him. "That was perfect," she said. "It was," he agreed. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being brave enough to start this, to say yes, to choose this life." Mara smiled. "Thank you for choosing it with me." They kissed, long and deep, anchoring themselves in each other before the week began. Because that was the thing. No matter how much they loved Claire and Ben, no matter how important this arrangement was, at the core of it all was still them. Daniel and Mara, choosing each other every day in new ways. That night, as Mara fell asleep in her own bed, Daniel beside her, she thought about the future. About sustainability, about change, about the unknown. And decided that whatever came, they'd face it together. All four of them. For as long as it lasted. Chapter 17, 6 months. 6 months into their arrangement, things had settled into a comfortable rhythm. They had dinner together 3 nights a week. The rooftop hot tub on Fridays. Date nights, Mara and Claire on Tuesdays, Daniel and Ben on Wednesdays, and most Saturday nights, all 4 of them together. To the outside world, they were just close friends, neighbours who'd gotten lucky finding each other. Only they knew the truth. Mara was at work when her phone buzzed with a text from Claire. "Coffee? Need to talk." The need to talk made Mara's stomach drop. That phrasing was never good. An hour later, they were in their usual coffee shop. Claire looked nervous. "What's wrong?" Mara asked immediately. Claire took a breath. "Nothing's wrong, but Ben got a job offer in Seattle." Mara's world tilted. "Seattle? But we're in New York." "I know. Are you going to take it?" "We're considering it. It's an incredible opportunity, the kind that doesn't come around twice." "When would you leave?" 2 months, if we accept." 2 months, 8 weeks. And then what? The end of this perfect thing they built? "What about us?" Mara asked, hating how small her voice sounded. "I don't know," Claire admitted. "That's what I needed to talk to you about. Daniel too. Can we do this tonight, all 4 of us?" "Yeah," Mara managed. "Of course." That night, in Claire and Ben's living room, the news hung heavy between them. "It's not decided yet," Ben said, "but we wanted you to know it was a possibility." "When do you have to decide?" Daniel asked. 3 weeks. 3 weeks to decide if they were going to blow up this perfect arrangement. 3 weeks to choose between career and what? Friendship? Love? This complicated thing they built. "What do you want us to say?" Mara asked. "Do you want permission? Because we can't hold you back from an amazing opportunity." "We're not asking permission," Claire said. "We're asking what you want this to be. If we go, does it end? Do we try long distance? Do we just accept that some things are meant to be temporary?" The questions sat there, unanswerable. "I don't want it to end," Daniel said quietly. "Neither do I," Mara agreed. "But neither do we want to hold you back," Daniel continued. "If this is your dream job, Ben, you should take it." Ben ran his hands through his hair. "It is, but that doesn't mean losing you two isn't a factor." They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Claire spoke. "What if we tried something crazy?" "We're already doing something crazy," Mara pointed out. "Crazier than, what if you two came with us?" Mara blinked. "To Seattle?" "Why not? Daniel's job is remote anyway. Mara, you could find marketing work anywhere. What's keeping you in New York? Our lives, Daniel said. Our apartment, He trailed off. Because really, what did they have in New York except this? Except Claire and Ben? Think about it, Ben said. No pressure. But the option is there. We could all move. Start fresh somewhere new, together. That's insane, Mara said. So is everything we've been doing, Claire countered, but we've made it work. Why not take it to the next level? Mara looked at Daniel, saw the same wild hope in his eyes that she felt in her chest. Could they? We'll think about it, Daniel said. That's all we ask, Ben said. For 3 weeks, Mara and Daniel thought of little else. They talked through scenarios, finances, logistics, the insanity of moving across the country for and with people they weren't officially in a relationship with. My parents would lose their minds, Daniel said. So would mine, Mara agreed. We'd have to lie, say we're moving for your job or mine. Is that okay, lying to everyone? We've been lying to everyone for 6 months, Mara pointed out. True. They made lists, pros and cons, practical considerations and emotional ones. The practical side said it was crazy. The emotional side said it was the only thing that made sense. What do you want to do? Daniel asked Mara on the 2nd week. What do you want? She countered. Mara, real answer, no deflecting. Mara took a breath. Time to be brave again. I want to go, she said. I want to stay with them, with this, for as long as it works. I want to see where this goes instead of letting it end because of geography. Daniel smiled. Good, because so do I. They told Claire and Ben on Sunday, 2 days before the decision deadline. We're coming with you, Mara said. Claire's face lit up. Really? Really, Daniel confirmed. We'll need to coordinate the timing, find an apartment, figure out a cover story for our families. But yes, we're in. Ben stood, pulled them both into a hug. You're sure? We're sure, Mara said, and she was, completely. This was crazy, this was reckless. This was possibly the most foolish decision she'd ever make. But it was also the most alive she'd ever felt. Chapter 18, Seattle. The move took 2 months to coordinate. Daniel's company agreed to let him stay remote. Mara found a marketing job in Seattle that actually paid more than her New York position. They gave notice on their apartment, sold furniture, packed their lives into boxes. Their families thought they were crazy but supportive. New adventure, new city, normal couple stuff. If only they knew. Claire and Ben had found a house, a real house with 4 bedrooms and a yard and space for all of them. We could get separate apartments. Ben had offered, keep up the appearance of being separate couples. Or, Claire had said, we could just live together, have our own rooms for show, explain it as a financially smart house share situation. That's a lot of proximity, Daniel had pointed out. We've been spending 6 nights a week together anyway, Mara had said. This just makes it official. So they'd signed a lease with all 4 names on it, equal shares of rent and utilities, moving in together like a family. The move itself was chaotic. 2 cross-country drives, so many boxes, so much coordination. But when they finally got everything settled, when they stood in the living room of their shared house in Seattle, Mara felt a sense of rightness. We really did this, she said. We really did, Claire agreed, arm around her waist. They christened the house that night, all 4 of them in the master bedroom, the largest room, which they tacitly agreed would be their shared space. To new beginnings, Ben said, raising his wine glass. To choosing brave, Claire added. To us, Daniel said. To home, Mara finished. They drank, and then they made this house theirs in the most intimate way possible. The first month in Seattle was an adjustment. Learning to live together full-time was different from scheduled visits. They had to navigate chores and schedules and personal space. They had fights, small ones mostly, who left dishes in the sink, who forgot to buy milk, normal roommate stuff, but they also had moments of profound beauty. Coming home to 3 people who cared about your day. Cooking dinner as a family, falling asleep tangled together and waking up to familiar warmth. Movie nights on the big couch, game nights that got competitive. Inside jokes that only made sense to the 4 of them. They made new friends in Seattle, carefully, always presenting as 2 couples who lived together to save money, always maintaining the facade. But at home, they could be themselves. One night, 3 months in, Mara was washing dishes when Daniel wrapped his arms around her from behind. Happy? He asked. She leaned back into him. Yeah, are you? Very. This was the right call. From the living room, they could hear Claire and Ben arguing about something on TV. A normal sound, a domestic sound. Think we can do this long term? Mara asked. I don't see why not, Daniel said, and in that moment, Mara didn't either. Chapter 19, Challenges. Year 2 brought new challenges. Ben's job was demanding. 70-hour weeks weren't uncommon. The stress bled into home life. Claire started painting seriously again, which meant mood swings and late nights in her studio, and sometimes neglecting the relationships. Mara got promoted, which meant travel and pressure and less time at home. Daniel remained steady, but sometimes felt like the glue holding everything together, which was exhausting. They had their first serious fight 6 months into Seattle. It started small. Ben cancelling plans again because of work. Claire snapping at Mara about something trivial. Daniel withdrawing into himself. And Mara, feeling alone even though she was surrounded by people. We need to talk, she said one Sunday morning when they were all finally in the same room. About? Ben asked, distracted by his phone. This, Mara said, us, the fact that we're barely functioning lately. That got their attention. We're fine, Claire said, but her voice lacked conviction. We're not, Daniel said, backing Mara up. We're going through the motions, but we're not connected. Not like we were. Ben set down his phone. What do you want us to do? I can't quit my job. Claire can't stop painting. Mara can't turn down her promotion. I'm not asking anyone to quit anything, Mara said. I'm asking us to prioritize, to remember why we did this in the first place. Why did we? Claire asked, and she sounded genuinely uncertain. Because we were alive together, Mara said. Because we chose something real over something easy. But lately it's been neither real nor easy. It's just hard. The silence that followed was heavy. I've been thinking, Ben admitted finally, that maybe this was a mistake. Moving here, living together. Maybe we put too much pressure on something that was meant to be light and fun. Is that what you think? Claire asked him. That this was a mistake? I don't know, Ben said. I'm just tired and stressed, and I feel like I'm failing everyone. You're not failing, Daniel said. But you are absent. We all are. We're in the same house but living separate lives. So what do we do? Claire asked. Mara took a breath. We recommit, or we admit this isn't working and figure out an exit plan. The words hung there. Exit plan. The first time anyone had acknowledged that this could end. I don't want an exit plan, Daniel said. Neither do I, Claire agreed. Then what? Ben asked. Then we fight for this, Mara said. We make time. We remember why we're doing this. We put in the work. I'm willing, Ben said. I just don't know how with everything else. We make it a priority, Daniel said. Friday nights are sacred. No work, no distractions, just us. And we bring back honesty hour, Claire suggested. Once a week we sit down and talk about how we're really feeling. No hiding. And we forgive each other, Mara added, for being human, for having bad days, for not being perfect. One by one they agreed. It wasn't a magic fix, but it was a start. They worked at it, really worked. Friday nights became sacred again. They cooked together, talked, reconnected physically and emotionally. Honesty hours were brutal sometimes, tears and hard truths and admissions of fear. But slowly they found their way back. 3 months later, things felt better. Not perfect, but real. I'm glad we fought for this, Claire said one Friday night, all of them tangled together in the master bedroom. Me too, Ben agreed. It's not always going to be easy, Daniel said, but I think that's okay. Nothing worth having is. God, you're wise when you're naked, Mara teased, and everyone laughed. The laughter felt good, felt right. Felt like home. Chapter 20, Forward. Year 3. They hosted Thanksgiving, just the 4 of them, because explaining their living situation to families was still too complicated. They cooked for days, made too much food, drank too much wine, gave thanks for each other. 3 years, Claire said, raising her glass. I didn't think we'd make it this far. Why not? Mara asked. Because this is hard. Because society tells us it can't work. Because I was scared we'd implode under the pressure. But we didn't, Ben said. We almost did, Daniel reminded them, but we chose not to. That's the key, isn't it? Mara said, choosing every day, choosing this over easy, choosing each other over expectation. To choosing, Claire said, if they drank. Later, in bed, Mara thought about the future. 3 years ago, she couldn't have imagined this life. Couldn't have pictured herself here with these people living this way. Now she couldn't imagine anything else. What are you thinking? Daniel asked, reading her face in the dark. That I love our life, Mara said, all the weird, complicated, beautiful parts of it. Me too, he said. From the other side of the bed, Claire's voice. Are we doing that thing where we get mushy at midnight? Maybe, Mara said. Good, Claire said, rolling closer. Because I love you guys, all of you, even when you're annoying. Especially when we're annoying, Ben added, joining the pile. They laughed, kissed, held each other. 4 people who'd found a way to make the impossible work. Who'd chosen brave. Who'd built something real from something society said couldn't exist. And who are still choosing it, every day, for however long it lasted. Because the thing about love, real love, is that it doesn't come with guarantees. It comes with choices. And they were choosing this, choosing each other every day again and again. Epilogue. 5 years. 5 years after that first night on the rooftop, Mara stood in the kitchen of their Seattle house, making coffee. Outside, rain fell softly. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Ben had left for work an hour ago. Claire was in her studio. Daniel was upstairs on a work call. They'd been in Seattle for almost 4 years now, made a life, built something sustainable. But Mara could feel it. The shifts, the subtle pulling apart that came with time and growth and the inevitable changes of life. Claire had a gallery show next month in New York. She'd be gone for 2 weeks. Ben was being headhunted by a company in San Francisco. He hadn't told anyone yet, but Mara had seen the emails. Daniel had been quieter lately, not unhappy, just different, contemplative, and Mara herself had been wondering, about what came next, about whether this could really last forever. They'd beaten the odds for 5 years. That was something. That was huge. But forever? She didn't know. The front door opened. Ben, back from the gym already. "Hey," he said, kissing her cheek. "You're up early." Couldn't sleep. He poured himself coffee, leaned against the counter. "Me either." "Want to talk about it?" Ben smiled sadly. "You know, don't you?" "About San Francisco?" "Yes." "Are you going to take it?" "I don't know. It's a dream job, but it would mean leaving. Again." "And you don't want to ask us to follow. Again?" "No, that wouldn't be fair." Mara nodded. She'd known this day would come, some ending, some change. "What do we do?" she asked. "I think," Ben said slowly, "we talk about it, all of us. No more secrets. No more avoiding hard conversations." "Tonight?" "Tonight." That night, all 4 of them sat in the living room, the same living room where they'd laughed and fought and loved for almost 4 years. Ben told them about San Francisco. Claire told them about considering staying in New York after her show, starting fresh there with her art career. Daniel admitted he'd been thinking about going back to school, getting his master's, which would mean less flexibility, more structure. And Mara confessed that she was tired, not of them, but of hiding, of pretending to the world that they were just friends, of lying to her family. When everyone had spoken, they sat in silence. "So," Claire said finally, "I guess this is it." "Does it have to be?" Daniel asked. "I think," Ben said gently, "we've been holding on because we didn't want to admit it could end, but maybe it's okay that it does." Tears spilled down Mara's cheeks. "I don't want it to end." "Neither do I," Claire said, crying too. "But I also don't want us to suffocate each other, to limit each other because we're afraid of loss. We always said," Ben reminded them, "that we'd do this for as long as it worked. Maybe it's worked for as long as it can." The truth of that settled over them. This was love, real love, the kind that held gently instead of clutching desperately. "What about us?" Mara asked Daniel. "You and me?" Daniel took her hand. "We're forever, that hasn't changed." "Same with us," Claire said to Ben. "So we don't end," Mara said. "We just evolve." "We stay in each other's lives," Claire said, "just differently." "How differently?" Daniel asked. They talked for hours, figuring it out, planning a transition instead of an explosion. Ben would take the San Francisco job. Claire would explore New York. Daniel and Mara would stay in Seattle but downsize to an apartment meant for 2. They'd visit, call, stay connected. But the daily intimacy, the shared life, that would end. It hurt. God, it hurt. But it also felt right. Like they were releasing each other instead of breaking. "Can I say something?" Mara asked as dawn started to break. "Always," Ben said. "Thank you for 5 years of being brave with me, for showing me I could be more than I thought I was allowed to be." "Thank you," Claire said, "for reminding us what it feels like to fall in love, over and over." "Thank you," Daniel said, "for being family when we needed it most." "Thank you," Ben said, "for everything." They held each other as the sun rose, 4 people who'd built something beautiful and were now choosing to let it transform into something new. Because that's what love does. It changes, it grows, it adapts, and sometimes it lets go. Not because it failed, but because it succeeded in what it was meant to do. It woke them up, made them brave, taught them to choose themselves and each other. for exactly as long as they needed to. 6 months later, Mara stood on a different rooftop. Hers and Daniel's apartment building in Seattle. No hot tub this time. Just a view and the memory of where this all started. Her phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Sold my first painting in the New York show. Wish you were here to celebrate. Another text from Ben. San Francisco is amazing. You two need to visit soon. Mara smiled, texted back to both, made plans, kept promises. Daniel came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. Thinking about them? He asked. Always, she admitted. Do you regret it? Any of it? Never. Do you? No, but I miss it sometimes. Miss them. Me too, but I think we got what we needed. And they're still in our lives, just differently. Yeah. They stood together, watching the city lights come on as the sun set. Do you think we'll ever do something like that again? Mara asked. Open ourselves up that way? I don't know, Daniel said. Maybe, if the right people come along, if it feels right. But not yet. No, not yet. Because right now they needed to be just them, to remember who they were as a couple outside of the quad they'd built, to choose each other again, fresh, new, and they did, every day. Grateful for what was, hopeful for what would be, brave enough to keep choosing whatever came next. The end.